Good morning. My name's Chris, and today I would like to show you how I shape my young fig trees and what the end goal is. So I've already shown in another video how I like to straighten them when they're small, and now I'm going to show you the steps I take to get the shape that I want, which is like the vase shape. And so this fig tree is pretty straight, and at this point it's about the height that I want my main trunk to be, so I'm just going to pinch off the top. And when I do this pinch, now let me talk just briefly about pinching. So there's a couple different types of pinching. There's pinching to induce fruiting. That's not what this is. This is I'm talking about pinching for shape. So I pinch all throughout the growing season. I don't really worry about trying to get early fruit. I get a good early start here in the fig house. So I'm more concentrate on shaping my tree in the first year, and I'm able to establish all the scaffolding on my tree in 1 year. I don't wait until the winter to cut it down and prune it. That's one way to do it, and that works well. I'm not saying it doesn't. This is just how I do it. So I'll get a tree about this size, and I'll come in here, and you can see the tip here. Now when I do this pinch, I try to go far away from the node that I want to be the first branch coming up, as far away as I can. If you get too close to it, it will cause it to grow like deformed. So I try to keep it as far away as I can, and that worked. Okay, just toss that. Try not to get the fig sap on you when you do these pinches, because this stuff, some people react to it. I know I do. Anyway, so I do this first pinch. Now I would do this, I'm doing it here just for the video to show you, and it's in the tree pot still. But normally I would do this right when I plant my tree, and I think it has some effects on, it stimulates the growth of all these nodes up here. These will start growing. It actually stimulates vegetative growth throughout the entire length of the tree, and I feel like it stimulates root growth as well. So I do this when I up pot these trees. I'll plant this, and then I'll do the pinch and get it started. Now I also have a couple of little suckers that are growing out here. Now I want this to be a central leader with no branching coming out from the bottom, so I'm just going to pop these off real quick. No big deal. Just toss those. You're not going to hurt the tree doing this. You can just break them right off. And what this does, if you were to leave these on, the tree is putting a lot of energy into growing all these different branches in directions that you really don't want. So if you can nip this right off the bat before it's expended hardly any energy, it'll put the energy in places that you do want it to grow. So pop this one off too. All right, so we've pinched this, and it's going to take a few weeks, but these will start to sprout out. And I have another tree right here I can show you. I did this one. This one I pinched before I even took this off the mother tree. So while it was still an air layer, I pinched the end of the branch because I wanted to stimulate branching. And you can see it's worked. The pinch was here, and now we have 3 branches, and here's a 4th one coming up now. Now I'll leave that one on for now and just see how it grows, but that's what you'll end up with after you do the first pinch. So moving on, so what will occur is this will continue to grow. And here's an example of a tree that I pinched in the spring. Now this tree in particular, this was a really small, all these trees here are air layers, but this was a rooted cutting. I received this from a friend out in Long Island, Esther, at the Long Island fig stock. And I met her there, and she gave me this tree. It's an unknown variety. It's called Unknown Jack, and it's a really nice tree. So anyway, I pinched this tree early in the season as it was growing. It was probably about, I don't know, about maybe 18 inches tall, and I got the first split. Now when I did that, it branched out in 4 different directions, and I'm going to show you right now real quick how I'll shape this tree. So I'll do this, try to do this as quick as I can. So this was initially the first stake that I put in here just to make sure that it was going to go nice and straight. I'm going to cut that off. And I'll put these stakes in here. tie them up for you. So Esther, if you're seeing this video, your tree is doing beautifully. It's a really nice variety. It's already got a lot of figs on it. I'm very happy with it, and thank you again. So, one thing that you'll find when you do pinch these tops and you start to spread these things, that initial central leader, the one branch that's going to take over, because the trees kind of always want to have one that's dominant, that one's going to grow straight up most of the time, and it can be a pain to bend that one over, but it can be done. So what I like to do is I start on that one, and I'll just give it a little bit of tension and bring it over and give it a decent spread, but I don't go too far with this first one, because this one really is not all that flexible. So you may have to do this, well, you will have to do this more than once. So I'll put it on here, I'll bend it over and stretch it out a little bit for probably a couple of weeks, and then I'll come in here, I'll untie this, and I'll adjust it a little bit more and pull it over just a little bit further, and then it'll take the shape. But if you go all at once, you could easily snap this off. So you want to go slow, especially on the one that's like rigid up the center here. So like that, and then I'll just do the other three real quick here. Just try to get a little bit more separation. Let that light into the center, and it'll help with your fruit production and just general health of the tree. And I think they look nice when they're all kind of organized and stretched out. So there's really nothing to it. If you do it at the right time, when the tree's the right size and these are still flexible, it's not difficult to get these things growing the way you want them. All right, so that's all stretched out now. This is ready to go. It's getting nice even sun on all the branches, and that's done. Now, what's going to happen with this is I won't prune this this winter unless it puts on a significant amount of growth. Between now, it's like mid-August now, so unless it puts on a ton of growth, I'm really not going to cut it back much. I may take some tips off or something. Actually, I will on this one, because see, I pinched this. I pinched this one and I pinched this one already to slow down the growth, because these hadn't caught up yet, but now they're starting to catch up. This one actually has caught up, so I'm going to pinch this right now. I kind of try to keep them all at the same level of like where the pinch occurs, so that you'll get a nice symmetrical tree that branches out, you know, in multiple spots. So I'm just going to go right about the same height as that last pinch I did over there, and I'm going to snap this one off. Okay. And this one here, not quite ready. This will probably be next week, 10 days or so. I bet this will be up to here, and I'll pinch that one off. All right, so this is done. Now, what you're going to get when you do this, I've got a few examples of ones that I did last year. Now, these three trees here are all air layers from last year. They were small, and I pinched them when they got to a size, like I liked the branches on them, and I thought this was a good size. So I pinched them when they got to where you see here. They grow a little bit more, a couple more inches, just with like the lengthening of the trunk. As they grow larger, they get a little bit taller too. So I pinched them a little bit below where they are now, but you can see that the spread is really nice on these trees. and it worked well. So this one, this is an Isa, and it's the same age as these two behind here, but it's in a smaller, this is in a grow bag, and I don't really recommend the grow bag. It's all right to get going and get started on a tree, but I would transplant it into a pot if you're going to keep it in the container. The grow bags, they work and they're cheap, and you know, sometimes that's what you have at hand, and that was the case with this tree. But I feel like it affects the growth overall. They don't seem to do quite as well as they do in a standard, you know, traditional pot. So yeah, this was pinched and then pinched again, and it has figs on it. I wasn't pinching it for the figs; it was just for the shape. And that one's growing well. Here's another example. Now this was an air layer last summer. It was like midsummer. This one was late in the season, so you know it's smaller. But this was like midsummer. This is a Coldedon Blanc. This was the sucker that was growing up next to my tree, and I decided to air layer it, and it took off, and it had a nice shape already started, so it didn't require too much pinching. I did take the top of it off, and it's regrown one up the center, which I'll probably take off during the winter. But you can see it separates real nice. It's got 4 main scaffolding branches that are not shading each other out, and it's got plenty of fruit, so it worked well. Now this last example here, this is an Italian 258. Now this was a tree that was an air layer like this. It had 2 trunks coming out, and I said, oh, what the heck, I'll go for it. You know, I went with that. It's not the shape I usually go for, but I thought it looked nice, so I decided to let it grow like this. And then to get this shape, I just pinched this one and I pinched this one right at the top. When they got they were a little bit taller than this, maybe about this tall. And then that grew a Y. And then it also sent out a couple other little shoots, but I just picked them off because I didn't want them. I wanted just to have the 4 branches coming up. And that's it. You can see take you over to get a closer look. The shape that occurred. Got 4 main branches, and this is in a 20-gallon pot. So you see the size difference. I know that the varieties are different, but generally across all of my varieties, the size of the tree all depends on the size of the pot. At least for me, from my experience. The larger the pot, the larger the tree. I guess they can only get as big as the root mass allows. So the more roots you have, the bigger your tree is going to be. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.